So moving on here, what about advice for those impacted by recent layoffs in tech sales?
Think of it. I probably think of it as a blessing in a lot of ways to give yourself a chance to recenter on what's important to you. It's like, you ever seen the Up in the Air? You ever seen the George Clooney Up in the Air? You ever seen that movie? Remember when he's firing people, and he asked that one guy who's, I think he's like the State Farm insurance guy now, and he's like, "Hey, how much did they pay you to first give up on your dreams?" And he sits there and he's like, $35,000 a year. And he's like, you know what? Now that you've gotten fired here, which could be the worst thing, you could look at it as a horrible thing. Why don't you go back and when you were, like, to think about what you actually wanted to do as opposed to what you thought you wanted to do. And so I think right now is an opportunity for a lot of people. Look, I say this all the time. I don't think you can be successful, really genuinely successful in sales, unless you genuinely believe in what you do. Like, if you don't believe in what you're selling, sales is my opinion here, sales is the transfer of enthusiasm. If you believe that strongly in what you do, and look, not that you're the best in general, but you're the best for this situation, right? Then it's a transfer of enthusiasm. And I'll give you a story of how I got fired. Let's put it this way. I was the top rep in every job I've ever had. Okay. We get acquired by Staples. We're the fastest growing company in Massachusetts. I'm the guy. Like, I am literally, you cut my arm, you bleed blue. I stood up and give the rah-rah speech every single week for the company and everything else, right? I get fired, right? After a year of just getting my ass handed to me in the corporate world. I get fired. And even though I knew it was wrong, I still was fighting to keep this job because I don't quit, right? And even though I knew in my gut it was wrong, they fired me. And at first I was like, oh my God, what the hell? I've never been fired before in my life. This is like holy. But then a couple of days later, in my little woe is me mentality, I said, well, shit, now what, right? And because I had been in IT services for 7 years, outsourced IT services, selling to the SMB market. And I'm like, is that what I am? I'm like, am I an IT sales guy? I'm like, crap. I'm like, I don't even like computers. I hate IT. I just want them to work. And I was like, so what? Oh man, what do I do? And my wife is the one who helped me. She goes, well, let's take a look back at your career and find out, why were you the best rep at each one of the jobs that you had? So let's look at DeWalt. Why were you the best rep at DeWalt in the region? And I said, well, I don't know. DeWalt power tools were pretty badass. Like, they were kind of, I won't say easy to sell, but they were pretty badass, right? Okay. Xerox. Why were you the best in the region at Xerox? Well, I don't love copiers, right? But at the time, Xerox was the best in the industry, right? Thrive Networks, my company. It's not that I like the technology; it was the people. I believed the people, right? So when I looked at it, I said, actually, it doesn't matter what I sell; it matters that I believe in what I sell, and that changed everything for me. So now what I encourage people to do right now is go through the value exercise. If you just got laid off, go through the value exercise. You can Google it, say, I want a core value exercise. And usually what it is like 50 core values. You choose 20 of them, then you get down to 5, and then you prioritize those 5. And if you really think through those values of yours and you center and you are like, these are my values, this becomes now your decision stack. Because what you can do is now you can marry this up against companies, opportunities, customers, and do they align with your values? Because when they do, look, if you and I have shared core values, we can argue a lot, but we're going to come to a place of agreement at the end and a place of respect. But if you and I are off on core values, we're just going to yell at each other.
Yep.
So I can't work for a company that doesn't have good values. I can't work for a leadership that doesn't align with my values. That's why I can't work with the Glenn Ross types of the world. That's just not my value when it comes to sales. I don't believe in Wolf of Wall Street. I don't believe in sales done boiler room style. I'm more of a Tommy Boy guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best sales movie on the planet, Tommy Boy, because it's genuine. You know what I mean? Like, he was trying to be his dad in the beginning. You could stick your head up a butcher's ass, but no, that's not it. And then, like, Helen, you look like a Helen. Let me tell you why I suck as a, right? And then all of a sudden he saves the town. I mean, that was a genuine, real, he was trying to help. He just didn't know how to do it, and that to me is what sales is. And so I think just go back and recenter what's important to you, and then go find companies. Don't apply for jobs. Don't put your resume in on the stupid HR thing. Find companies that you want to work with and go see what their values are, and then go up to the executive and say, hey, these align. I'm looking for my next challenge. Who could I talk to about having this? And I don't want to talk to HR yet. I want to talk to somebody who's been in the role so I can get some perspective here and go from there. I promise you, you'll get more opportunities that way than you will submitting 50 resumes a day.
That's great. And there's a quick tidbit. I mean, something I always like to say is take the opportunity to get feedback, because, they're going to call it right sizing or reduction in force, but chances are you got let go versus somebody else because of something in performance or what you did or how you do it. So in a very, kind of authentic, unassuming way, just say, what could I do different or better? What would be any coaching? What would be any feedback? And that's probably invaluable to that individual, because a lot of times people are not self-aware enough to want to be on that continuous improvement path. So it's a tip I always like to say for those. But I'm going to move on here. What about, I know you're doing a follow-on book on sales to those that are in high school or college. So what's your advice for people that want to break into tech sales?
Talk to people in it. You know what I mean? I think the biggest key is, again, start with values first. You start with values first, then go look at products. And the easiest thing to do here is look at products that you might use already. Right. And you look at anything, look around your office, look around, think about the technology that you use and just be like, I kind of like this tech, and let me go check a look at that company, see if they're, a good company. And then let me go see if I can, but I would, once you identify the values and once you identify kind of some of the products that you could see yourself believing in selling and having that transfer of enthusiasm, then just hit up some reps on LinkedIn and be like, hey, can I just pick your brain for, I looked through your background, I looked through your history, you got an interesting one. XYZ companies on my list. I was wondering if you maybe give me 15 minutes to chat about what it looks like as an internal, as a job there, and what a day in the life looks like. Learn that, see if it matches up, and then from there, go and apply your job from there.
Awesome. And Ashley, maybe following up, I think she's probably with Gong. So she said there's a few tools we need to update your knowledge on. So look forward to that. And they're a great company.
I challenge you to know more tools than me, but feel free to try to educate me. I'm partners with Gong. I'm partners with SalesLoft. I'm partners with Clay.io. Like, you name the technology, Ashley, we know it. So I'll go toe to toe with you if you want.
There you go. They're also great sponsors, sales community.
Gong's one of my favorite. They're my favorite blog by far. And Gong, their platform and the conversational intelligence and what they're doing all the way through the sales cycle is definitely the next level, like I said.
Yeah, awesome. Now, what about, I know a lot of topics you're passionate about, but what about talking about how your personal brand means more than ever?
Yeah, that I'm talking about.
And maybe we're going to be limited on time, so maybe we'll get the kind of cliff notes.
Yeah, this is, I mean, especially for people who've been laid off right now. If you have a personal brand, you have a 10 times larger opportunity than if you have no brand at all. So building your brand and getting out there and sharing, and I'll give you one hack on a personal brand building thing. Go find the 5 thought leaders in your space that are blogging and posting. Go follow them on LinkedIn or whatever, consume their content in order to learn, okay? Not to share, not to post, whatever, to learn first. When you learn something, which is continuous improvement to your skills, when you learn something, then share it on social with your context. So, hey, really interesting article by Randy here. Some of my key takeaways were blah, blah, blah. What do you all think? Post. Now, if somebody reads your post, Randy, because I shared it with my context and they get value out of it, they thank me. They don't thank you. They don't thanks Randy for writing the article. They say, thanks John for sharing that article. So if you focus on learning first of your craft, and that's the primary goal, and then you share when you learn with your context, you will build your brand, you will have people paying attention to you, and you will have people looking at you as more than just a little sales rep trying to get your quarterly target fucking hit.
Totally. What about your perspective on how the value of relationships have changed over the years in sales?
Yeah, big topic here, this one, but I'll boil it down into relationships. The value of relationships have gone from golfing and, steak dinners to value, period. I have plenty of friends who, like, I think I told the story to you when we talked, like, I have a financial advisor who is a friend of my wife's, right, growing up, and it's her partner, and they manage all our cash. And then I got my other guy who does all my insurance stuff. And this guy, once a year, hey, what's up, John? Here's what the numbers, we made some money, we lost some money, shows me some graphs I knew nothing about, right? This guy brings value all the time. Hey, John, even stuff he can't do. He's like, hey, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? I'm like, oh, no. And then I'll bring that to this guy. This guy I gave one last chance to actually bring value to me, and then he did the same thing a few years back. Hey John, let's catch up. And I said, cool. I'm going to actually now this guy, my insurance guy, can actually sell financial services stuff. So I'm going to take my money from you and give it to him. So if you think of that, this guy was a friend, literally, is still a friend.
Yeah.
My wife grew up with his partner. Relationship bullshit. I wasn't getting any value out of that relationship. I was getting value out of this relationship, even though he couldn't do anything for me with the stuff he was sharing with me. So when he was, I moved everything to him. So value is time, my time. You golf 5 hours to sit on a golf course? No, not at this stage of my life. Can you bring 5 hours of value to me? When I was 22 and couldn't afford it, yeah, okay, that was value. Now, 46 years old, me playing golf with you. Are you more important? My question, people who ask me that, are you more important than my daughter? No, the answer is easy on that one. So can we just do this 15 minutes on the phone? You can tell me what you're looking for. I can tell you I don't have, whatever it is, and we can call it a day. I'd rather have 3.5 hours of my life back than, spending it with you, quite frankly.
Yeah. And that also ties into how hard can you push a client to close? Say if somebody has a deal now, they want to close by the end of December, right?
Yep. Yeah, this is one where if you don't have that relationship already, you're kind of screwed. But the point on that one is the answer to how hard can you push is it is in direct proportion to how much it is in your best interest versus their best interest. If it is in their best interest because they got to close because there's impact to their business if they don't do it. And by the way, here's the question to ask. We all do this. We all do the reverse timeline sale. Oh, you want this launched by January 1st? Great. Well, if you want it launched January 1st, then there's 2 weeks to do contract, 2 weeks to do onboarding, blah, 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 blah. So if you really want it, then you got to sign today, basically, right? We all do a good job at that. What I beg people to ask is this follow-up question, which is, if you don't know it already, which is, hey, happy to launch, okay, launch January 1st. That's great. Hey, Randy, just out of curiosity, what happens if you don't launch on January 1st? What's the impact to the business?
Yep.
If there is no answer to that question, do not forecast that opportunity. Because if there is a real answer with real impact, it's not just because they're going to miss out on the discount or they're going to stay with their existing vendor. No, what's the impact of that? Okay, cool. If there is, then guess what? You can and you should push as hard as you want because it's in their best interest. If it's just in your best interest because you got to close the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year, you're just a jackass sales rep. Good luck.
Totally. And then that also ties in, I always like to say, to your point in terms of what the value is, but if you bumped into the CFO and you got 30 seconds, what are you going to say? Yep. If you don't have things that are going to resonate with him or her around, or him or them, with revenue, cost savings, competitive advantage, kind of real business issues, you definitely have nothing. And then another topic I know you're passionate about is just that kind of follow-up recap letter. So to your point of the reverse timeline, but then putting that in writing and then making sure with that and all the other bits and pieces that need to go in there, making sure that they agree. And if they don't agree, then, it ain't going to happen, right?
Google that, everybody. Google Jay Barrows' favorite nugget, and you'll find it. It's called the summary email. After every conversation, Randy, you do a great job of this. And what I'll do is, hey, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. There's some next steps and action items. Before I go ahead and do all that, I'm going to briefly summarize what I was able to gain from our conversation today and send it over to a quick email. The key is you let them know it's coming and you ask them to respond, yes, it's accurate. Right. Because if you don't get the response, there's no commitment there. So if you haven't done that, though, here's something, a very tactical thing that everybody listening can do. If you think you have a deal that's going to close by the end of the year and you haven't talked to them in a week or so, I beg you to retroactively go and send the summary email. Go back and be like, hey, Randy, I've been thinking about I know we haven't talked for about a week, but we're going to close by the end of the year. You told me it was great. I just was looking through my notes. I just want to kind of summarize where I see things at this point. Could you let me know if this stuff is still all accurate and if I'm missing anything? Current situation is this, timelines this, priorities of this, impact is this, whatever it is. If you get a response back, then you're in pretty good shape. If you're not, I'd be nervous.
Yep, totally, all day long for sure. And then I'll plug my book. Tucker can maybe put the link on, but I've got several examples of things we talked about here with value selling, the recap note, how you do it, how you do executive notes. So you can go to salescommunity.com/book and check it out as well. Now, what about, we only a couple minutes here. I know you got a hard stop, but what about everything we had talked about applies to sales reps for sure, kind of leaders, leading by example, things like that. What about maybe if you had 3 two or three bits of advice for kind of CROs today?
CROs, I mean, I think it's the customer, the customer, the customer. I don't think enough of us really, really listen to the voice of the customer. We take marketing's word for it. We take product marketing's word for it. If I was a CRO right now, I would be spending so much time with my customers and just listening about, hey, where's the value? What's the challenge? What are the risks to the business? How can we help in any way, shape, or form? You know what I mean? And really just listening from their perspective. Here's one last thing that I would recommend everybody do that aligns sales, marketing, and customer success, and a CRO should actually run this. Say your company goes after like a target, which is like CTOs in healthcare or something like that. Get 3 hours on the calendar the first Monday of every month. The first hour, get 3 customers who are CIOs in healthcare, existing customers. Do a Zoom session, Q&A. Hey, what's your day in the life look like? All these different things. How do you like to be communicated? Where's value? All that stuff. Then after that hour, do some research. CIOs, healthcare, priorities, challenges, 2023. And have teams break up and create cadences to that persona using what they just learned. And so you have teams of 5, right? And everybody rips a list of 20 accounts. So team 1 has 100 accounts that are going to go through cadence 1, cadence 2, cadence 3. Then execute. And then it's easily coachable and it's easily measured. And at the end, you look at what worked and what didn't work, and then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. That aligns marketing, that aligns sales, that aligns customer success. And those all are CRO responsibilities. So something super tactical, if I was a CRO, I would be coordinating that. And then I'd be talking to as many customers as I possibly could to figure out what's really happening out there.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Well, we didn't get to anywhere near what we were hoping to. Tucker put a good reminder on here. I just found out that in order to rank higher on podcasts, you have to go in the Apple app and you got to do a 5-star and put in a couple bullets. So anybody watching, if you can do that, that's great. Thank you so much. And John, you have been awesome, just like I knew you were. I knew you would be, I guess I'd say, but so many great nuggets. Everybody go, check them out. It's a lot of new stuff, but a lot of it's just timeless and just great reminders. Next week we have episode 104 on December 14th with Mandy Cole. So looking forward to that. And John, can't thank you enough. And Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Happy selling.